Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that every single day celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such a great place to live, work, and play. If you go back and look at the story of Copa Casino and what Hurricane Katrina did to that casino and the challenges that it created for its owners, Rick Carter and Terry Green, it's a fascinating story, and it's probably one of the most viewed videos I've done since I talked to Rick Carter and Terry Green in the first week of Coast Vue about 2 years ago. But what it did is it unlocked some incredible opportunities for them. They made a risky move at the time. It was a very risky move, actually, to buy the Harris Gulfport. And they ultimately turned that into a significant development in Island View. Ultimately, as we now know, we have the Beachview Casino as well. Along that journey, which if you want to look it up, you just do a search of Rick Carter and Terry Green Coast Vue and pull that up and watch that fascinating conversation. Rick and Terry in the early 1990s were actually credited with getting us to this point of dockside gaming that, of course, became land-based gaming after Hurricane Katrina. But Rick and Terry have made hundreds of millions of dollars worth of investment in coastal Mississippi, and because of their incredible drive to entrepreneurship and their willingness to take on incredible risk, especially early in the game, they have found a lot of success in their lives. I always enjoy talking to entrepreneurs because when you get behind the man and really begin to understand, what are their passions, you usually find out that there are more passions than just the main one. In the case of Terry Green, he had been in the real estate development business in Houston for like over 30 years. He built a ranch there called Jackpot Ranch, and he got into the business of cutting horses. Now, if you don't know the term, if you watch the Yellowstone TV series, then you'll know the term. That's the horses that you see on that series all the time, very prominently on that show Yellowstone. Someone actually wrote about cutting horses once, that they're pricey, both on the show and in real life. So it can be a great business, and Terry certainly made a passion out of it. He was actually a rider for over 15 years. He rode a cutting horse for over 15 years. But eventually, Terry, through some partnerships and some friends that he got to know along the way, he ended up getting into the thoroughbred breeding and racing business. It's a very, very cool story with a very significant business component to it as well. I'm so pleased to have for the first two segments of Coast Vue today my friend Terry Green, and we're going to talk about his horse journey along the way. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Rick. Good to see you.
It's good to see you too. So where are you right now?
I am in Lexington, Kentucky at my farm in Lexington called Jackpot Farm.
Well, that's so you got are you still doing cutting horses in Texas?
I still have some cutting horses, but I'm not at the level that I used to be. I really don't ride them anymore, but I have a trainer named Bo Gallion that I have. I had a really great mare at one time, and we have some babies out of her, and he's still showing and everything. A matter of fact, we won the Super Stakes a few months ago on one of my horses, but I'm not into it in the level that I am into the racing end of it.
You know what's interesting about studying your story, Terry? You and I chatted about it briefly, but then I went and did some research. And when you consider the short amount of time that you've been in this business, you've had tremendous success already. I want to start with a photo, and then we're going to turn around and go back in the other direction and kind of rebuild this journey. But Cal's having a technical problem this morning. So what I'm showing, Terry, is a photo of Terry congratulating a jockey on top of a horse in a winner's circle. And the name of that horse was Basin. What's significant about that photo, Terry?
Well, what's so significant about it is that was a 2-year-old race that is the biggest race of the year. It's held in Saratoga every year, and we bought that horse at the yearling sale at Kingland, and that horse turned in to be the winner of the Hopeful, which is a Grade 1. So people that probably don't follow the sport and everything, Grade 1 is the top level of all the horses in the country at that age. So at a 2-year-old, we had one of the top race horses in the country.
Well, that was a hell of a start, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It kind of put my name and our farm and all our employees kind of put us on the map up here.
And so then began to pursue it. What's interesting, going back to the cutting horse story, which really was a great predicate to what you're doing now, it would be very difficult to just go into the thoroughbred business without the experience that you had. That's maybe one of the reasons, actually, that you had so much success early. But going back to the cutting horse deal, I didn't know that. I knew that you were in the business. I didn't know that you enjoyed riding, and that's sort of what introduced this passion to you.
Yes, it sure was. Matter of fact, about 20 years ago, I went to the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, let's go over and watch the cutting horses." And this was way before Yellowstone and all that kind of stuff. I was like, "Well, what's a cutting horse?" So I went over there, and I, as a kid, I always just loved horses. My grandfather had horses. I used to go out there as a kid in the Kiel, Mississippi, and ride a lot. And I just always loved horses, and I'd been away from them for a long time. So once I went to the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, when I saw it, I thought to myself, man, I'd love to try this. Of course, I ended up trying it, and then the next thing I know, I built a ranch in Weatherford, Texas, and next thing I know, I have about 30 cutting horses, and we're going all over the country showing cutting horses. And I loved it. We did it for 15 years, and it was just a blast.
I'm not familiar with the cutting horse part of it, but I have a cousin. Unfortunately, he recently died from Alabama. He was in the breeding business with cattle, and I mean, I'm talking about serious bull breeding business, really, really expensive business. And and he'd been in it for 25, 30 years. I mean, he loved it. And, what he had learned about artificial insemination and genetic codes and how he tracked all of that, and, how he determined which bulls were going to be, the most successful. The deal. Right. Did you ever in your wildest imagination think that you would become that kind of expert too?
No, not really. When you first get in from just riding a horse is one thing, but when you actually get into the breeding end of it and everything, it's a whole nother science. And every year it gets more technical and more sophisticated. And the things they can do now, it's mind blowing. 20 years ago, you would have told me they're doing some of this genetic work and things of this nature, and nobody would have believed it.
So as I mentioned, it's a great predicate, actually. The cutting horse experience that you had was a really good predicate to moving forward with, building out a farm or a ranch in Kentucky and literally getting into the business full bore. You sort of already knew the language. You already knew what was necessary, what the care and feeding of a horse, so to speak. And it really kind of helped you shorten the learning curve in a way, didn't it?
Yeah, it's like every other business. I mean, probably when you got in the publishing business, you're very narrow in what you know, but every day you learn more and more, and you're around people that understand it. And yes, it's a stepping stone business, just like anything else. Just like we got in the casino business. We started with a little ship that went offshore, which I don't know. I think we had maybe 75 slot machines and 5 table games. Nowadays, we run 3,000 slot machines, 1,000 hotel rooms. So it's a gradual deal that, you wake up every day and you set yourself a goal and you do that goal. And next day you do the same thing. Before you know it, you look back on it and, you're in the business big time.
So you started building out your ranch in Kentucky and really getting into the business in a big way in 2018. It's 2022. As you look back, one of the things I mentioned, I want to talk about your horse Gulfport, but what we're going to do is we're going to save that part of it for the second half, the next segment. When you heard the way I sort of introduce you, that your passion sort of becomes a business. When we're talking about thoroughbred breeding, it is a significant business, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's and even when I got into it in the beginning, I just did not realize how serious it is. I mean, it's become a major business. I mean, you can come up here in Lexington and everybody, I mean, it's a town of about 200,000 people, but I'd say 85% of the people are tied to the horse business. And it's an economic driver up here. Without the farms and the horse business up here, you probably pretty much wouldn't have a Lexington, Kentucky. I mean, that's their forte and that's what they do. And the grass is some of the best grass in the world up here. And that's why people come from all over the world to buy these coats every year when we sell them. And it's a fascinating business. It's always ongoing. I mean, people come in, people go out. Some people stay a year, some people stay a lifetime. So it's a very interesting business. you meet a lot of great people. I mean, the people up here is so much like the Mississippi Gulf Coast. You know, every time somebody goes to the Gulf Coast that I know from somewhere else in the country, they'll call me and say, "Hey, can I get a room?" I'll get them a room. First call I get back and says, "My God, I can't believe how friendly and the people are down there." And it's not at our casino. It's all up and down that Mississippi Gulf Coast. It's just a place.
There is no doubt about that. I don't know if you realize this, but the Sun Herald was part of Knight Ridder, you know, the big newspaper chain. Lexington Herald Leader was part of that chain.
Did not know that.
And so I spent some time in Lexington along the way and worked with a number of different people, including the former president publisher there, and the IT director was on one of my strategic planning teams, and others that worked there. They loved Lexington. And one of the stories I remember, my friend Mel, he was the IT guy, would tell me he had a sailboat on a lake somewhere in the Lexington area, and every year it would shut down and become a real problem because it would get frozen in. So, it was a cold time of the year. So Kyle, you're giving me a word that's the end of the segment. Okay, well, when we get back on the other side, we're going to talk about the special horse, Gulfport. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to Coast Vue. We're having a conversation with my old friend Terry Green, who's co-owner of the Island View Casino and Beachview Casino. And his passion for many, many, many years has been horses. And more recently, starting around 2018, he got really interested in thoroughbred racing and horse and breeding. He has a ranch in Kentucky. We were just talking about, I had friends in the Lexington area. What a beautiful part of the country. But it can be cold in the wintertime, that is for sure. But Terry's in Kentucky now as we speak. And something really important is about to happen coming up this weekend. Let's talk about that, Terry, and then we'll take a bit of a step back and talk about the significance of your horse and a little bit of the story about the Gulfport. So tell me about what's going on this weekend.
Well, this weekend in Saratoga, New York, there's the biggest 2-year-old race of the year. It's called the Hopeful, and it's run every year. It's been run for over 100 years. So, and I'll have a horse that I named Gulfport that has qualified for that race, and we'll be racing on Monday, Labor Day, about around 5:30 in the Hopeful in New York.
Wow, congratulations on that.
Thank
you. Qualify for the Hopeful, that has been a journey in and of itself, hasn't it?
Yes, it sure has, because basically every year there's roughly about 30,000 yearlings that are born, and that is when they're at the age of 2 years old, that's the time that they can race in that. So you have to have a horse that is at the top. I mean, the best horses in the country we'll be racing against, and we'll be there. So we've had to win some significant races in order to get there, and we did that, and he did it very handily. He has done excellent. I mean, the races that he's won has been by big margins and everything. So we're really excited. This is the first step, in order to get to the Kentucky Derby, which is our ultimate goal. But for the 2-year-old, this is one of the biggest races of the year, and that's why we're so excited about it.
When did it occur to you that Gulfport was going to be a very special horse?
First race. After his first race, we ran him at Churchill was his first race, and he won by, I think it was somewhere around 8 lengths. So, and the time was unbelievable. I mean, he was just a fraction off the track record, which had been run. This race had been run over 120 years. So, after that first race, our phones started ringing, people calling, wanting to know, hey, is the breeding rights for sale, which is a big deal up here in Kentucky. So, and then he's gone on from there, and that's where we're at today.
So when you're doing training of a horse like that, and when the horse is, maybe let's start when the horse is first born and it's coming along and it's making progress, and now you're starting to train them. Do you look at it and say, is it hard to differentiate, because they're all at a cutting edge level to begin with? But do you sense that something special about it?
Yeah, there's certain people, Rick. I have, I know a lot about the horse business, but I don't know all about the horse business. So I do like I do in the casino business. I hire people that are very knowledgeable, that's been in it their whole lives. So I have several different consultants that I do use. So when we go look for a horse, it takes me 2 hours to tell you everything what we look for. But yes, there is a lot of difference in them. But the biggest problem in trying to buy a horse is you don't know how big that heart is, and that's what makes a great racehorse. I mean, you have to have the talent, but you have to have the mindset and you have to have the heart. And, these horses, they don't know what you pay for them. I mean, when you go to the yearling sale and you're trying to buy these horses, I've seen them go through the sale at, $5,000, and then another horse will come behind it that's different breeding, that's supposed to be a special horse. They'll go for $1 million. So you never know. And you hear these success stories where some people pay $15,000, $20,000 for a horse. They win the Kentucky Derby, and that's what's so exciting about this business, is that you never know about that horse. I mean, he might look the part, or he might not look the part. You never know.
Yeah, what's really interesting is that you have a situation where you got a horse that seems to have all the right criteria. You got a great jockey. You got great training. You're doing all the nutritional stuff the way you're supposed to do it. You got everything working right. But it's interesting the way you talked about heart. How important is heart? I mean, is that just something that's genetic to that horse that says, boy, this guy is special?
Yeah, it's just like any professional athlete. I mean, how come some are better than others? I mean, it's just, I relate my horse racing operation to like owning a pro football team or pro baseball team or whatever. I mean, from the very beginning, we have to breed the horse. We have to decide, which is the best sire for this mare. And there's all kind of computer analysis that you can input. There's a lot to it. So once you get that horse, then you have to get that mare to where she has that baby. Then that baby has to come out and be a healthy baby. So then you get to that point. Then you have to just, you have your guys at the farm, your farm manager, your farm staff that has to raise that horse till he gets to the racing age. Then once it gets to the racing age, you have to pick the right trainer and the organization. So it's like almost being a coach of a pro football team. It's, we have our own system. We have our own things we look for in horses. At that point, then, you have to go to the track. You have to decide what races you want to go in and how you want to get to that Kentucky Derby. So there's a lot that goes into it, but it's very exciting. But that's something that nobody really knows about is that heart. I mean, it's, they even say they try to measure them and stuff like that, but you never know. It's just like an individual, somebody passionate about a business, somebody passionate about golf or, whatever they do. Deep down inside, you just don't know what's in there.
That's so interesting. Well, Gulfport has gotten a lot of attention. It's created tremendous business opportunities for you now. Again, just 2 or 3 years into your journey, that has to be exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. And, our ultimate goal, or my ultimate goal, and my farm's ultimate goal, and my staff's ultimate goal is one thing: we want to win the Kentucky Derby one day. So I don't know. There's very few people that do it, but it is a goal of ours. And this is a horse that we believe that has a shot. I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, they go along this career. Some of them, are better at 2 and 3. Some of them get better as they go. So, from all indications, we feel like this horse has a real shot maybe to be in the Kentucky Derby. So that's our ultimate goal, but it's a process.
Terry, congratulations. So interesting. I love when someone's, people like you who are entrepreneurial, whether it was the real estate development business or whether it was the casino business and as a restaurateur, all the stuff that you've been involved in it, the cutting horse business and now the thoroughbred business. You don't know how to go about something halfway, do you?
No, I haven't been too good at
that. It's been a hell of a journey. Hey, so real quick, tell me, and I don't, Kyle, you can hold up a finger and let me know how much time we have left. But if you were to walk outside there, is it as pretty this time of year?
Oh, it's beautiful, and we've gotten the rains at the right time, and the grass up here is what's so important. They say this is a limestone-based area, and it's one of the few places in the world where it's called the Kentucky bluegrass that grows and everything. And it's so good for these horses, especially when they're growing, the most important part of their lives. And they're on this grass, and a lot of people contribute that to why all these farms are here. But yeah, it's a beautiful area. People that come up here, they just like, wow, I never dreamed it was so pretty. And one thing about this place is that I've gone to a lot of these farms, and you go to this one farm and you'll say, oh my God, this is this is it. This is the most beautiful farm up here. A week or two later, you get invited to another farm. You go to that one, you go, oh my gosh, this is the most beautiful farm. So to me, it looks like a couple of hundred golf courses up here that's all together. It's a beautiful place.
Well, it's a serious business, man. It's a serious business that you're in up there. And how many horses do you have currently?
We have somewhere around 30 horses. That's counting race horses. I have about 7 or 8 on the track. Then I have my brood mares and I have my babies. And so we're getting ready. The biggest sale for thoroughbreds is coming up at Kingland, which is held every year, and we're getting ready for the sale. They're getting all our yearlings all dialed up and ready to go to the sale. So that starts on the 13th, and our first goal is to try to win the hopeful, and next goal is try to sell a bunch of babies for some decent money.
You know what's and again, we're coming to the end of this time together, but I know that if you raise cattle, you got to be with them all the time. You got to pay attention to them. You got to listen to them. You got to watch them. You got to be there. You got to be in touch with them. Horses are the same way, I'm assuming.
Oh, very much so. I mean, even from the cutting horses to the thoroughbreds, it's daylight and dark, because I was so used to, my quarter horses, they pretty much had their, they fold out in the pastures and everything. Up here, I mean, it's like you're going to the hospital. I mean, the stalls are custom designed. Everything's ready to go when these things are born. So it's a difference.
Well, Terry Green, it's been a pleasure to catch up with you, my friend. Congratulations on your success. Look forward to hearing how this weekend goes. Gulfport winning means a lot more than just winning that one race. It could have a domino effect to your business that's beyond imagination. So good luck to you, my friend.
Thanks, Ricky. I appreciate it. Always good to talk to you.
You bet, man. This has been Terry Green. We'll see you after this break.